We are back for Monday night NFL DFS. We have a 2-game slate to go over. I am going to do that instead of the showdowns because there's just more money at hand for that slate. So we got the 2-game slate tonight on Monday Night Football. We will get into it, but please like, comment, and subscribe to the video before so you can just help our algo a little bit. Now, let's get into some fun. Good old NFL DFS 2-gamer. We'll go over both FanDuel and DraftKings and see what we can get. Go position by position. So ownership looks pretty spread out right now between the quarterbacks. I think the two best situations here are Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. Now, if we look at our good old trusty team defense tool, which is starting to show enough data because we have the last 2 games here, Joe Burrow clearly has the top matchup with Josh Allen right underneath it. We know Josh Allen, of these 4 quarterbacks, clearly the best fantasy quarterback. But Burrow's in a good matchup. Jaden Daniels has some rushing upside, and then Trevor Lawrence is there bringing up the rear. He is going to be the lowest owned quarterback probably for good reason. I don't mind going to him, just don't love it. And then on FanDuel, we have very similar ownership. Only difference here is that Josh Allen is much more expensive on FanDuel. So let's get over to running back now. And I'm going to just start with the RB1s here. Zach Moss has the best matchup, followed by Brian Robinson, Travis Etienne, and James Cook. Now, if we look at ownership for running back, James Cook is getting most of the ownership. He is in the toughest matchup. My favorite spot is Zach Moss on this slate. I think he is the number one. He saw like 65% of snaps week 1, up to 80% week 2. And I like the spot for him. Next, we got Travis Etienne, 40% owned, and then Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, I think, are the most interesting pivots on this slate at the running back spot. They are sharing work. Brian Robinson is getting more of the work, but Eckler is right there and has some upside, unique upside because of his pass catching ability. So I like Brian Robinson. I like Zach Moss. Those probably are my favorite running backs on this slate, but James Cook's workload has been very solid the last couple games. 22 touches. Week 1, week 2, only 12 touches, but 3 touchdowns, and Miami just crushed them. So he wasn't really needed all that much. He was super efficient and got it done, but the workload we've seen since the back half of the season has been very solid, and I'm definitely interested in Cook. Travis Etienne, he's fine. He's getting his workload actually does scare me a little bit. The reason being is Tank Bigsby week 1, 12 carries, 73 yards. He was injured week 2, so didn't get much. But Dearness Johnson got 5 carries, who is clearly the RB3. So Etienne, it seems like, doesn't have the role that he has prior, but he's still priced up. So not a big Etienne fan on this slate. And getting over to good old FanDuel, highest owned running backs, we got Moss, Cook, and Etienne. All 3 are right there. So very similar situations on both sites. Now, getting over to wide receivers. Cincinnati wide receivers are the highest owned. Both Chase and Higgins are in extremely good matchups. Higgins in a slight better matchup, but both of them we like very, very much. Now, I think there's a lot of ways to get different on this slate with the wide receivers. So, wide receiver 1 wise, Chase is the best. Coleman, I think is going super under-owned. Look, he had one target, had no catches, no yards versus Miami, but he played 90% of the snaps. He is by far out-snapping everybody in the Bills' wide receiver room. I have some interest in Keon Coleman, especially if he's going under-owned. I think people are going to be scared to play him because he just, everybody thinks he was an afterthought last game, but he was out there a ton. I absolutely am interested in some Coleman. Think he's going to get you a little bit different. McLaurin, Kirk, both in tough spots. Kahil Shakir played the third most snaps for wide receivers on the Bills. He is in a very good spot. I definitely have some interest. The issue here is that he's like 60% snap guy. So we're going to need to see a big play or a touchdown for him to get into the perfect lineup. Then we have Diami Brown. I think the wide receiver 2 on Washington is very interesting. McLaurin, obviously the wide receiver 1, but he isn't like a stud alpha wide receiver 1. I think the 2, 3, 4 on Washington do have some chance. And right now it is Diami Brown, but I think there's a chance it could be Noah Brown, which takes me here. Noah Brown, I think, could end up being the wide receiver 2 on this team. He had 3 targets, 3 receptions for 56 yards last time out. And Diami Brown had 4 targets with 2 receptions, no targets week 1. I think Noah Brown is the guy we want, and I'm really, really interested in from this Washington game. And he's definitely going to get you very different, as we have him at under 10% owned. So he is probably my favorite one. Let's talk about this Bill situation a little bit. Shakir getting all the ownership. Coleman running the most routes. Second most routes is going to Mac Hollins, who is 13% owned, only 3,100. He is interesting. He is kind of big player bust, but on these 2-game slates, you just really need to nail the touchdowns. You're essentially making, like an 8-leg touchdown parlay here with 100K upside, or, $1 million upside, whatever. $1 million upside if you really nail it. So I think Mac Hollins is a little bit interesting. The Jags wide receivers are in a very, very tough spot. Cincinnati wide receivers look good. And one thing is, with the addition of T. Higgins, Yosavash goes to the 3rd wide receiver, and I would expect his snap count to fall quite a bit, maybe down to 55, 60%, something like that, similar to what Trenton Irwin was getting before that. And Irwin and Burton become, kind of afterthoughts in this offense. On to FanDuel ownership. Same thing, T. Higgins and Chase, highest owned. Then we have Shakir, Samuel, and Coleman. Samuel going at 22% owned is insane. He has played under 30% of snaps in both games. I think it's very hard for me to get there at 5,200. I would much prefer Coleman. Even would rather go Shakir at 45% owned than go there. I would rather Mac Hollins over Curtis Samuel. So I think Samuel is just getting way too much ownership, and we can get different there. Washington, they're likely going to have to throw the ball in this game. Cam Taylor-Britt has been solid. He's going to be all over McLaurin. Don't love McLaurin in this spot. I think the Washington receivers, we can get different. McCaffrey, Diami Brown, Noah Brown are all interesting. Noah Brown's my favorite there. And I'm probably going to have a decent amount of Noah Brown on the slate tonight. All right, let's get over to tight end. So our highest owned tight end, Mike Gesicki. Dalton Kincaid is next. Clearly the alpha tight end on this group, but really hasn't done much. And the Jags thus far have been very good versus tight ends, so I don't love the spot for Dalton Kincaid. Next, we got Zach Ertz and Brenton Strange, followed by Dawson Knox. Those are really the starting tight ends here. My favorite, without a doubt, by far, is Brenton Strange. 1, he's going at low ownership. 2, as a Jags pass catcher, he is in by far the best matchup. We got 51.5 yards and 7 receptions per game is given up to the tight ends from the Bills. And when Strange was asked to step in, remember that Evan Ingram got hurt in warmups. Strange just stepped in and pretty much took over that Evan Ingram role. 7 targets, 3 receptions, 65 yards. I like the spot for Brenton Strange. He played like 68% of the snaps or something like that. He's probably right around the same, and I think he is by far my favorite at 2,700. I think his ownership may go up significantly throughout the day as more people talk about him, but I do like that spot quite a bit. And then over on FanDuel, same thing. He's cheap, and ownership isn't totally there. Dalton's fine. Gesicki is fine. We should talk about him, though. He had 9 targets last game, but hey, Higgins is back. I don't think Cincinnati is going to have to throw to Gesicki. They're going to be able to get open with Chase or Higgins. And so I think Gesicki kind of comes in as an afterthought. The other thing is I think they're going to be able to run the ball. So I think Gesicki, this game is really like the 4th, 5th option. And just not really wanting to pay his ownership and price for that. I would rather just, get crazy and go Zach Ertz. I mean, he's gross, but at least he's getting 4 targets a game, and there's always a little bit of touchdown upside. They said Sanat is going to start getting involved a little bit more, but I wouldn't do it this game. I would probably be more a little wait-and-see approach before I go there. And we'll check the team defense tool real quick for tight end. And, yep, Strange, by far the best spot. Gesicki next. Dalton after that. Let's go. We're all on the Strange train. And lastly, check the defensive spot. Bills D getting the most ownership. Bengals at 3,100 is right there. I think the Bengals are super interesting. Jaden has upside for sure, but struggled to really move the ball passing, and they may be forced to here. Jaguars defense, I hate going against good old Josh Allen. I think Commanders could get... they haven't really been able to stop anyone, so I don't really love that. Really, I think it's pretty much a Bills or Bengals defensive spot, so we're probably not getting ownership. One thing I have to say with this is defense is just extremely hard to project, and you never know who can get the pick six. So any defense is in play. I hate to just roll with the super chalk one, but it is most logical that one of them are going to come through. However, that's just kind of how it is on the slate. Defense is a tough one. And then on to FanDuel, Cincinnati has the highest ownership with the Bills right there. Bills are way more expensive, but the highest projected defense by far for us. So if you have the money, you may want to just pay up for it, but you got to bite that ownership. And that will do it for us today, guys. It was a quick one. Got a little 2-gamer. It's kind of nice to have a 2-gamer on a Monday night to get a little different, but good luck. Let's make some money, and we will be back all week with more content. Have a good one, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.